of what does exchange mean. That's kind of our theme. And what's interesting is, in a few weeks, you're going to be talking about awkward, and I'm up here telling you embrace the awkward. So you guys can interpret however you want with that. What we're going to be doing this morning is kind of talking a little bit about why do people have some hard time telling other people about Jesus. And there's fear or concern and rejection, all that's involved in that. So I've been doing youth ministry for 17 years in this. Like I said, I've known Dan and Holly for 20 years. So most of my career has some kind of connection between me and Dan. We've done several mission trips together. Raise your hand if you're going to the DR this summer. Okay. Yeah, I heard there was 18 people? Dan? Wherever Dan left. Okay. So that, I guarantee you, is going to be a life-changing experience for you. I love mission trips and all that, because here's why. When you go on a mission trip or you go somewhere that's not your normal kind of area, you get to really experience God in a whole new way. And you see God differently, and you have to rely on your team, you have to rely on God more than back home. There's some comfort. So, again, we're not going to stay comfortable this morning, because I think comfort is actually against what God calls us to do. God is not the God of He wants you to be comfortable all the time. He wants you to be growing. And sometimes, if you've been in a sport, you realize you have to work out, you have to do not fun things, practice, in order to be good in the sport. Now, maybe you're just not good in the sport no matter how much you practice, and that's a whole nother discussion. But this morning we're going to continue on our exchange series and kind of going through different aspects about evangelism. So, do you know your calling in life? Purpose, calling, kind of all the same thing. Now, if you're middle school and high school, you're probably still kind of discovering that. Maybe you're late high school and you realize, okay, I know a little bit more of where God is calling me. Now, here's the thing. When I say calling, we sometimes mix it up with career. I'm not talking about your job. Sometimes your job, all right, and your calling is the same thing. But in my experience, very few have that matched up. A lot of times your career just gives you the means to live out your calling. So I'm not talking about career. My career happens to be a youth pastor, so my career and calling is matched up, but that rarely happens. Do you know where God is calling you? How God is calling you? Because we are all on a spiritual mission. Our goal is to figure out where that is, okay? So, in the Bible, it calls us to bear fruit as part of our calling. Now, not literal bear fruit, but bear fruit as in what? What does bear fruit mean? What do you think? Right? It's hard to explain it. Yeah. What? Okay, fruit of the Spirit. Can anyone tell me what a fruit of the Spirit is? Name one fruit of the Spirit. Love. Joy, peace, kindness, self-control, faithfulness. There you go. I think there's a song to it, but I'm not going to sing the song. So the Bible, okay, talks about here's your calling in life is to bear fruit. So yes, that is fruit of the Spirit, but it also means to tell someone else about Jesus. So I have this Bible verse that we're going to go through, but first I need to kind of break some things down for you. So this morning, I'm going to be stepping on some toes. I don't mean to, but sometimes we need to be a little bit more honest. So can anyone tell me between fruits and vegetables? Yeah.
A tomato is actually a fruit.
That is true. The picture is deceiving. So anyone know the difference?
Fruits are the mature reproductive parts of the plants, vegetables are the vegetative parts.
Wow, did you hear that? Say it nice and loud. That is a very accurate answer. Go ahead.
Fruits are the reproductive parts and mature parts of the plant, and vegetables are the vegetative parts of the plant.
All right. Yeah, give it up for it. That's absolutely right. My simple definition would be fruit has seeds in them, vegetables don't. So yeah, it's a reproductive thing. So VeggieTales, Bob the Tomato, is actually a fruit. It's lied to you this entire time. I just want to point that out. Sorry. But we're going to be honest. Like I said last night, we're going to be honest and open with each other. I'm going to share some things that I've struggled with, and I'm going to challenge you on what does it mean to bear fruit. So let's go ahead and read the very famous passage. It's actually found in John chapter 15. Anyone know who wrote the book of John? Oh, there you go. Okay, some people are like, yeah, it is not a trick question. John wrote the book of John. All right, he's a disciple. In fact, he was one of the inner circles of Jesus, kind of the closeness. Jesus had 3 close BFFs, all right, and John was one of them. And so John wrote the whole book of the Gospel of John, focusing on how Jesus loved people, interactions with other people, all about love, okay? So here's what he says on what does it mean to bear fruit out of love. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. So Jesus talking here. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I remain in you, for a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I am them, will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. All right. We have read scripture. That means you have to stand up and move, and you cannot sit in the same row. All right? You can't sit in the same row. You have to switch. You don't have to sit in a chair. You can sit anywhere. But you have to move. All right? So, here's what's interesting, okay? This passage needs to be broken down a bit, okay? And Jesus is talking about bearing fruit. He's talking about telling other people about Jesus, planting seeds, if you will. And there is a purpose. Who is the branch? When Jesus says, I am the vine, God is the gardener, who's the branch? The branch is all of the people who claim to be followers of Jesus. If you're a follower of Jesus, you are a branch. You're attached to the vine. When it says vine, it means kind of trunk of the tree, okay? God is the gardener. So the branch's purpose is to bear fruit, to mature enough to where you are producing mature fruit that is passed on to someone else, okay? That is a sole purpose. That is part of your calling. Where you produce fruit and how you produce fruit is your specific calling in this life. So, I love J.D. Greear. He's a pastor up north, and he says this: you're either a missionary or a mission field. There is no middle ground. A lot of people think that faith and Christianity is about like a ticket on a train, and once you get salvation, it's like sitting on a train and just waiting to heaven. That's really not what salvation is about. Someone is either telling you about Jesus or you're telling them about Jesus. That is the kind of relationship that God wants for each of us. But the problem is, we don't always do that. And this is not really fun to remember and all that. So, I tell my youth, okay, back in Wichita, Kansas, this saying all the time. We have fruit and stickers and all kinds of weird stuff to remember this concept, okay? And it's a weird concept, okay? So you're going to have to show me some grace because it is definitely awkward and weird, and it doesn't make sense at first because that's part of the point. And the phrase is this: don't be a peach, be a pomegranate. Okay? Don't be a peach, be a pomegranate. That's kind of weird, okay? So let's break that down. So, how many seeds does a peach have? There you go. 1, all right? 1 seed. So if you take a peach tree and you plant it in the ground, how many trees are going to grow? 1. That's right. So a peach represents just your faith. I have my faith. I don't need to worry about anyone else's faith. I don't need to be concerned about anyone's faith. I don't need to pray about anyone else's faith. I'm just going to focus on myself. I'm going to plant myself in the ground. I'm going to grow. That's totally fine. But what's the difference between a peach and a pomegranate? It's about the number of seeds. And did you know that the pomegranate is actually a holy fruit? It is a spiritual fruit according to the Old Testament. Now, in the Old Testament, they had the temple, okay? And inside the temple, they had a place called the Holy of Holies. Inside the Holy of Holies, they had the Ark of the Covenant, and it is said that it's God's throne. It is the only time where God the Father has some kind of physical representation here on earth when he was sitting on the Ark of the Covenant. And before Jesus came on this earth and all that, a priest would get dressed up in this whole garb, all right? And everything was symbolic. Everything was symbolic. He would get dressed up in this. He would go to the Holy of Holies, all right? And he would ask for forgiveness for all the people for that year. They would do it once a year. And then God would forgive the people, all right, for that year. Now, here's what's interesting. Everything is symbolized up there, and we're not going to go all over that, except for there's a little tassels at the bottom there. Every single tassel has a pomegranate tree or pomegranate seed inside of it, because pomegranate seeds represents multiple growth, represents harvest, represents big growth and spreading out, because pomegranates are nothing but seeds. A peach has one seed, everything else is pulp. Everything else is a waste, pretty much. But pomegranate has nothing but seeds in it. So if you plant a pomegranate, all right, fruit in the ground, maybe hundreds of pomegranates are coming up. So when I say don't be a peach, be a pomegranate, I'm saying don't just be responsible for your own spiritual growth. Also realize that you are called to connect to other people. And you are called to plant seeds in other people, i.e., tell them about the gospel. And I really think if people start living this more and more and more, man, there is such a difference, because the world is getting darker. And the world is getting darker not because it's getting worse, but I think because believers in Jesus are getting quieter, both with their actions and with their words. And we are the only ones that have true light. We're the only ones that actually have the truth. And it's hard because we are afraid to tell others because of various reasons. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's break it down, because this passage is kind of difficult, okay? There's two parts in it that some people kind of associate with that is a little prickly, okay? Here's what that means, okay? So he cuts off every branch of mine and doesn't produce fruit. So he's talking about God. God the Father, okay, is the gardener. He's in charge that this tree is protected, that this tree has nutrients, that this tree is planted in the right area. The tree or the trunk is God. Is Jesus. The vine is Jesus. So he cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit. A lot of theologians, people who study the Bible, kind of debate what does this mean and all that. I'm going to give you the crash course. It basically means, it doesn't mean you lose your salvation, as in, if you don't produce fruit, if you don't tell other people Jesus, oh, you're out. God's going to cut you off. No. I think he's talking about non-Christians. People who have a chance to produce fruit, people who have a chance to know Jesus and gain nutrients from the trunk Jesus, but doesn't do anything. And God's like, we need the space. You are not going to be with me. You are sent to hell or wherever, okay? What this is talking about is not necessarily Christians losing salvation, because I think once saved, always saved. But this is a situation where a lot of people think, oh, that's me. Then we do evangelism out of fear. We shouldn't do evangelism out of fear. We should do evangelism out of love. So the second part talks about Christians. So the first part is not non-Christians. The second part is this. God, will prune the branches that do bear fruit so that they will produce even more fruit. So here's what's interesting. This is where God is talking about discipline, not the fun part about having a relationship with God. Pruning means to trim, okay? Not to completely cut off, but to trim off the bad stuff. So if you have a branch and you have a few leaves that are dead for whatever reason, let's say it was frozen, okay, off, or whatever reason, it was dead, he takes those branches off, those dead parts off, the parts that are actually holding you back from growing and maturing, because then you can produce more. And here's the thing, that's the part of God that we sometimes don't like. I have a 4-year-old daughter, very curious, and she likes to touch things that are shiny and bright. I have a stove. We use the stove to cook things. This is not a good combination, because she sees the bright red stove and wants to touch it. What do? Say, oh, sweetie, I know you can do whatever you want, but I really don't want you to touch the stove. No. I go, no, stop it. Like I'm almost scaring her because I don't want her to touch the stove. And that's because I know what's best for her. I know what it does. She doesn't. And sometimes God has that relationship with us. Have you ever had something that you absolutely wanted to do, but it didn't happen, it fell through for various reasons? Have you always wanted to do something? Maybe you got caught in something that you shouldn't have been in, and you're so angry that you got caught more than even what you did. Sometimes God allows discipline, bad things, all right, to happen to us, to teach us and learn, and to help us to learn, hey, we shouldn't be going down that path. Because here's what that, remain in me. There's a Christian word that says that. It means abide, all right? Abide means remain in me. And it means having a close relationship with God. So for me, all right, I was a wrestler in high school. Do we have any wrestlers in here? Okay. Former wrestlers, I guess, okay, back there in the sound booth. All right. Now, I really enjoyed wrestling. When I graduated high school, I'm not lying to you, I weighed 105 pounds. I have doubled that, all right, since then. But yeah, I was short and I was super rail thin, okay? It worked really well in wrestling, not so much in life, okay? But I made it to state my senior year. I was really good at wrestling. After my sophomore year, all right, back up a little bit, I wanted to go to this wrestling camp that was 2 weeks in the summertime, okay? But it was $1,000 to go to this wrestling camp. And it was taught by Olympic wrestlers. Now, it's a big deal, okay, to be taught by wrestlers, and Olympic wrestlers particularly, and all my friends are going. So, for my entire sophomore year, I worked so hard to raise the $1,000. My mom was definitely not have the ability to give $1,000, so I'd earn it on my own. I would go out, and I would work extra hours. I took a paper route when I was a sophomore in high school, okay? I'm driving and then throwing the papers out of my car, okay? I had no shame, but I wanted as many dollars as I can. So I'm earning money, all that. I get to the point near the end of the school year when there's a deposit, all right? And I go to my coach. I open my bag because I have $1,000 with me, and I open my bag, and I'm about ready to give the money to the coach, and the envelope that has all the money in it is gone. Nowhere in my backpack. I'm freaking. I am almost in tears. I'm dumping out the backpack. I'm looking in my coat pockets. I'm running around. I go back to my locker, and I open my locker, and I throw everything out. It's not in there. Then I go to my car. It's gone. I either lost it or I left it in my car and someone stole it. I don't know. To this day, I've never seen that $1,000 again. So here's the thing. The coach couldn't help me. My mom couldn't help me. There wasn't a way, and the deadline was here. I couldn't go to this camp. I'm telling you, all right, I was bawling, like those snot crying, bawling kind of thing, embarrassing. I mean, nowadays, I think there's a trend on Snapchat where particularly girls, they film themselves crying and all that. I would do that if I had Snapchat back then, okay? Luckily, I didn't, so I have no picture to show you, all right? But for me, I was just so devastated. A few weeks go by, and my youth pastor, Chris, that I showed last night, he says, hey, why don't you come work at the church for me for 2 weeks? You have no friends back home because they're all going to the wrestling camp. I'll pay you a little bit, not much, all right? But you already took off work. You have nothing else to do. And so I said, okay. So I went to the church, and for 2 weeks, I shadowed him. I did everything he did, and I absolutely fell in love with ministry. Those 2 weeks is where I had my calling confirmed, that I knew I wanted to work with teenagers. I wanted to do what Chris was doing. And before then, no joke, I wanted to either be a high school history teacher or a storm chaser, all right? Those are my 2 career paths, all right? Neither one worked out. I still love storms, and I live in Kansas, so it's very cool, but I don't get money for that, and that's not my calling. So I absolutely love ministry now because of those 2 weeks. God disciplined me because I realized through those 2 weeks and a couple weeks afterwards, I was giving up going to youth group because I could get extra hours at work. I was giving up working, going to church on Sundays because I could get extra hours because my sole focus was that wrestling camp. And I didn't even realize at the time. I would not be against, I love youth group. I would not be against the church or against going and all that. But I prioritized that over Christian community. And then what happened after you prioritize that over Christian community, what tends to happen, you also prioritize that over reading the Bible or doing other things. It's a domino effect. It doesn't always just start, I hate God, and then you never go to church again. It's usually a slow fade. So I learned the hard way that that's not what God is calling each of us. And that's not what God was calling me. So, here's what I want us to do. If you continue on in John chapter 5, it says this, verse 16. You did not choose me, but I chose you. He's talking about people. He's talking about followers. And I appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. So he's not talking about just being nice. We're not talking about just the fruit of the Spirit, although that is an important aspect. We're talking about eternal fruit. We're talking about salvation. A lot of times Christians are just supposed to be nice. The Red Cross is nice. Salvation Army is nice. Atheists are nice. There's something else besides just being nice, and that means the gospel. That means Jesus, and we're talking about that more tonight. So, we read Scripture. Now you have to stand up and move. Stand up and move. This time you can't sit in the same section even, or row. Spread out, spread out. If you have your booklets, you can write this down. This morning, I want us to exchange excuses for motivations. Exchange excuses for motivations. Where's Dan, the man? Come on up here, my apprentice. So, I'm going to give some excuses that believers, not really non-believers, because they said, I don't believe in Jesus. They don't really do that. Some excuses on why people don't share the gospel. Some are good. Some are not so good. Yeah, we got to have the right look. Now, these excuses are all about things that I've either used I should say, I have heard from others. Now, it's easy. I can just tell you and then guilt trip you and make you feel bad and all that, which is not my point. I can just tell you the excuses. Or I can do something fun related to one of my favorite cell phone games of all time called Fruit Ninja. All right? So we got some fruit up here, and we have a sword. Look at this black sword. This is awesome. This is Dan's sword. You're going to have to talk to him if you want to see it and use it. Not going to happen. Okay. It is sharp, okay? So it's not a play sword. But I'm going to go through excuses, okay? And then we're going to chop some fruit, all right? Some of you wanted fruit this morning instead of donuts. You'll have your chance, all right? Let me cut it up for you. And then, because I want you to remember that we need to cut these things out. The first excuse, all right? It is not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It's the pastor's responsibility. It's the church's responsibility. Everything's. Go ahead and grab the fruit. Let's do it. Let's both, but we'll do one at a time. Now, Dan and I have only done this once, okay? So we'll see if this works. But let me also start one thing up too. Maybe you're really excited, okay? Please do not run up here and grab the fruit. We'll give it to you, okay? Some people really want fruit right now, okay? Just hold off. I don't know if anyone wants a tomato, but we got oranges. Just hold off because I don't want anyone to lose a finger and all that other than Dan, all right? So be careful and don't come up. Are you ready? Let's try it. So it's not my responsibility. Back up a little bit more. You don't want me to go right here? No. Okay. What? Oh! Okay, that's what we practice. That was what we practice. Oh, okay. It's music. I thought there was some phone. Oh! Let's do the orange. There we go. Oh! I know. We should have started with a small fruit first. There we go. Ah, there we go. Who wants some fruit? There you go. Throw it out. Oh, right there. Behind you. So, I like it. The second excuse. I'm too busy to tell people about Jesus. This is an interesting one, okay? I'm too busy to tell people about Jesus. We don't actually say this, but our actions reflect this. I have too much homework. I have too much school. I have too much time with friends. I have to keep my Snapchat streaks going, whatever the excuse is. And really, we say we don't want to do it. But we don't, all right? We don't say I'm too busy, but we fill our lives with everything else but telling about Jesus. Here's the best part about evangelism. You can live your life exactly how you need to. On the way, you just tell people about Jesus. You don't have to separate schoolwork and telling about Jesus. There's a lot of times on your sports teams, it is the best missions field because you're spending hours with them. Are you seizing that opportunity? So, we need to cut that out. Ooh, bananas. Okay. This should be easier. Okay.
Who wants a banana?
Some of these fruit, we don't get in Wichita, all right? We don't grow much in Wichita other than cows. So what is that? Does anyone know? I just bought it Friday. I had no idea. Grapefruit? What is it? Okay. I don't know. We'll cut it and find out. Oh. Cut it again? All right.
That's a grapefruit.
That does not look right.
Who wants it? That ruined a chair. All right, sorry.
Here.
Oh, yeah, I've got another one. Okay.
Now, if I throw it like this and you cut it, that's really good.
My scored skill is not that great. All right, who wants a banana? Or a little one. Wants it? Okay. All right, next one. I'm afraid they won't like me or they'll be mean to me. This is actually a good excuse because there is that fear. This is probably you're getting to be a little bit more honest on this. Like, I'm afraid they won't like me. If I tell my friend about someone or about Jesus, they might not be my friend anymore. Right? That actually could happen. But here's the thing. The Bible says those who don't know Jesus is spiritually dead. They're lost. They have nowhere to go. They can't save themselves. All right? Someone has to tell them about Jesus or they have to discover about Jesus. Okay? Now here's the thing. With this one, if we put our relationship more important with that friend than our relationship with God, we're already behind the 8 ball. We're already in trouble. We're talking about a life-changing opportunity that they have peace that goes beyond understanding, that they have comfort, that they have joy. Now, it doesn't mean their life is perfect afterwards, but during the dark times, they have someone, Jesus, to walk with them, including a Christian community. And no, we don't want them to have that awesome relationship like we have. That's really what we're saying when it comes to not telling other people about Jesus, that we care more about the relationship with them than our relationship with God, because God says, no, you need to tell them about me. So, what is this? Because this is not in Kansas either.
This is a papaya.
Is it good? I've never had it in my life. It's okay. All right. Nice and high. Oh! Off the tarp. And it looks like little sheep poop. What's in there?
Cut it again.
What is in there? Those are seeds?
Oh, it smells terrible.
It's not right.
Oh, smell that. Smell that. Smell it.
You like this?
It's not right.
This papaya?
You Texas people are weird if that's good. I need something to change the flavor of my mouth.
Someone get the man.
All right. Does anyone want this? Come here.
It's like sheep poop over there.
Here. Go share it with your mom. All right. Yeah, that's not right. Okay. Next one.
Don't eat that, please.
Next excuse. I don't know how to evangelize. I don't know what to say. Let me tell you this. This is actually a legitimate excuse. This actually is a legitimate reason. It actually is. For about a week. After that, it's just a terrible excuse. Because if you don't know what to say, there are tons of resources for you to learn what to say. There is Dan, there's your small group leaders. You can go ask them, hey, what do I say? What do I do? How do I tell people about Jesus? So, yes, you can say this. But if you're 2 years in and you're still saying that, then you've intentionally not learned that skill set. Here's a great example. Let's say you have a math test, right? You learn a question on the math test, or you think you learned a question, but you got it wrong. You don't really know how it works. So you're like, I'm just going to skip this part. I'm just going to skip this section of math. It comes to the end of the semester. You take a math test. That question comes up again. You're like, I didn't learn that knowledge, so I can skip it. You turn your test in. Well, the teacher goes, oh, I'm sorry. You didn't learn that knowledge? I'm not going to grade you on that. No, right? The teacher thinks, no, you're an idiot. You're still going to get grade on that. It's not my fault that you didn't learn that skill set. So when it comes to evangelism, I have 2 resources that I tell everyone, here's what you need to do. First, tell them your story. Tell them, why do you believe in Jesus? How did you come into faith with Jesus? Why or how or even when and who was involved? How you make the point is, I'm going to trust in Jesus now. Telling your faith story cannot be argued against. It is personal, is relatable, and if someone else tells you their story, then you can have that connection as well. The other thing is, how many have heard of a ministry called Dare to Share? Anyone heard of that? They have this absolute free app. It's one of the best apps for evangelism I've ever heard. It's called Life in 6 Words app. You download this, and you says, oh, I've used this multiple times with people because they're having a lot of questions. So I said, oh, okay. So I get out this app, and I just click. And it shares the gospel in 6 little slides, and there's scripture verses, and there's videos, and then there's questions to answers and all that. So you can download this app, Life in 6 Words app, and I guarantee you it is super, super easy. This is something that I encourage you to do. But this is just an excuse that is only good for short term. So this is a squash, all right?
Butternut squash.
Butternut squash. Does it taste like butter?
I need the samurai music.
Oh, yeah, what happened?
Give me some Karate Kid music from Mr. Miyagi.
There you go. All right. Oh, my goodness, you turned it.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing over here and everything's over here. Who wants this? I can't help it.
Cut it again?
You want to cut it again?
It smells like, there we go. Moment of truth. Ready?
Okay, this is cry music. Okay, it sounded like church music for a second. Whoa! It turned on me. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh my goodness. One last one. There we go. All right, next excuse. I'm too messed up to tell people about Jesus. Yeah, go ahead.
You're not going to want to eat that.
What's up? I'm so sorry.
Butterfingers over there. No pun intended.
No more throwing fruit for me. I apologize. Okay, so I'm too messed up to tell people about Jesus. Basically, this is not so much an excuse as it's something that you still have to deal with in your life. If you are struggling with a sin, if you're looking at something you shouldn't be looking at, if you're dealing or doing things that you shouldn't be doing with, and you've tried to stop it, you haven't really stopped it, you need to get that help. You need to talk to a small group leader, talk to Dan, talk to a pastor, and you need to get to the point where you can understand, you can break that habit. Because what that does is it puts you in a jail cell that you've created on your own. And it prevents you from telling other people about Jesus. And it prevents you from growing in Jesus, because that's exactly where Satan wants you to be. Is he doesn't care if you believe in God or not, just as long as you're not growing closer to God. That's all that Satan matters or cares about. So, I'm too messed up. You need to stop that. Or maybe it was something like me, like I shared my relationship last night with my father, that something bad happened to you, that someone messed you up. and now you feel that you're unloved, or you don't really believe in Jesus like you say you do because you're still not quite sure if Jesus truly loves you. You need to get to the point where you understand where Jesus' love flows out of you rather than it's all just head knowledge. That there is so much love that you can't just contain it. You have to tell everyone about Jesus. This is something that doesn't just change overnight. You have to work on this, and I don't see it how you can work on this alone. You have to get with someone to help you with that. Yeah. Okay, we'll see. I'm getting way sticky over here with seeds and...
One shot at this.
One shot, yeah, okay. Let me... All right.
All right, you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Oh! Come on, I'm not going to throw it anymore. Come grab it. This should be right.
All right.
I apologize, whoever is on your custodial staff. We tried. Okay, next one. I don't know any non-Christian people. This is becoming more and more popular in youth ministry. When I started out 17 years ago, that wasn't as big as a deal. But society, whether it's because of political parties, or it's because of churches, or it's because of culture, or social media, we have gravitated towards this is us, believers in Jesus, and this is them, enemies who are not believers in Jesus, or they're a different political party, or they go to a different school, or whatever, and we kind of isolate ourselves. And we look around and we say, I don't have any non-Christian friends. I go to a Christian school. I go to church. I'm on Upward Bound's basketball team. Now here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with going to a Christian school. There's nothing wrong with going to youth group or growing up in a church. All right? That is a good thing. But if you look around in your life and you can't think of one single person by name that you don't know who's non-Christian, you're in trouble, because where are you going to plant fruit? Where are you going to bear fruit? You don't know. So here's the thing. Everyone has non-Christians in their life. They just don't see it. I guarantee you, if you've been to a store, you have a non-Christian in your life. If you go to public school, you have a non-Christian in your life. If you're on a sports team, I guarantee you, you don't know everyone's spiritual life on there. And here's the best part. If you treat them like a non-Christian, doesn't mean judgmental, it means love, and you tell them about Jesus, and they say, no, I like Jesus too, you now have a connection that you didn't have before. But too many times, we use this excuse like, I don't know anyone. That gives me an excuse of not telling anyone. But that is a terrible excuse. That's probably the worst excuse out of all. You, teenagers, have social media that I guarantee you other people see that are not believers. You just are too narrow focused to see anything. So, this is a melon? Cantaloupe. Is that still a melon or not? Yes. Okay. All right? Oh my goodness. It got all of my face. Who wants it? There you go. Yeah, I don't have any spoons. You're on your own. Last one. Last one. I tried, but no one will listen. I tried, but no one will listen. This, I hope you've had that experience where you've actually told people about Jesus. You've actually had a chance to say, hey, I've told someone my faith story, or I told someone the love of Jesus, but they didn't listen. Now, here's the thing. Oh, thank you so much. So, your goal is not to save people, because guess what? You don't have the power to save people. Only God has the power to save people. In fact, your goal is simply to plant seeds. No matter how much you work at planting that seed, you can't force that seed to grow, right? You can't. You can't pour water on it. You can't pour sun on it and expect it to grow. If it doesn't want to grow, it's not going to grow. But your goal is not to grow trees and grow branches. Only Jesus can do that. Your goal is to plant seeds, to tell other people to have a start about the relationship with Jesus. So guess what? You can't mess that up, because it's not about the words you say. It's about the heart and the intention, because God can fill in the gaps. God can give you the words, or God can interpret the words, all right? It's about the intention. Are you telling other people about Jesus? Now, here's the thing. Does anyone know one of the best baseball hitters of all time? This guy, he's older, okay, been a while, all right. Ty Cobb is considered the best baseball hitter of all time, as in the number of hits. His lifetime batting average, every time he goes up to the plate, he hits the ball 0.3767 times, which means about 7 out of 10 times he strikes out or gets out, and he's considered the best, 7 out of 10 times. So about 3 times he gets a hit. So many times we focus on, I'm not saving everyone. I told 10 people about Jesus and no one is accepting Christ and all that. You don't know if they're going to accept Christ 5, 6, 7 years down the road. And guess what? None of you would be here today if someone didn't tell you about Jesus. God didn't use someone else to tell you about Jesus. Maybe it's a family friend. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's a youth pastor or a small group leader. Someone else told you. We need to cut this excuse out. All right? Are we ready? How are we going to do this?
Costa Rica.
There we go. Okay. I got stuff all over my shoes. Oh! However you want. I don't know. What?
I called it already. I called it.
Okay.
Let's do the other one.
Yeah, let's try it. Do you think we can do 2 at once? Can you throw it together?
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
All right. We'll do one last one because we got some extra fruit. Who wants a pepper?
I did.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go, Ben.
Okay. Apple. There we go. Oh! It's right there.
Got one more tomato.
One more tomato. Last one. Or we should save it. It's up to you. Okay. We've already made a mess. Ah. Can I have a tomato, anyone? All right. So, let me finish up here. We almost need like a napkin or whatnot. So, here's what you need to know. A lot of times we are afraid, and that's what all these represent, is fear. We actually are scared to tell other people Jesus because of various reasons, but it all boils down to fear. And I wish I could take that fear away from you. I wish I could say, oh, it's going to be fine. You'll never have that fear again. I had fear just coming down here on an airplane, all right, with Mr. Helpful, okay? That fear doesn't go away, but you know what courage means? Courage means you still move forward in spite of the fear. And that's my prayer for each and every one of you, is that you have courage to tell people about Jesus. Because here's the thing. It doesn't really matter, all right, how you share it, when you share it, although it does help if you're probably not standing in front of the school or when the teacher's talking and you interrupt her. There might be some more appropriate times. But there is times where you need to both talk and live in such a way where your life points people back to Jesus. And we're going to be talking about that more tonight. For me, I want to challenge you that the vine, the trunk, that's Jesus. It produces everything you need. It produces the words you need to say. It gives you the opportunities. So many times that we don't pray for God-given opportunities to tell people about Jesus. We just think it's going to happen. Start praying that, and I guarantee you'll start seeing the world differently and realize, oh, I didn't know that they needed Jesus or anything like that. And we start sharing about Jesus. We are to exchange our excuses for motivations. What's going to motivate you? And here's the thing. Just like exercising, that first couple times of practice and the first couple times of exercising, it's terrible, right? You don't like it. But once you get going, all of a sudden, now you enjoy it. So for me, I'm going to end with one final story. I had a girl in high school. Her name was Kim. I was about a freshman, sophomore. Kim was very shy. We went to the same youth group, but Kim didn't really speak up much. I always saw her reading her Bible and worshiping, and she's the type of person that rose her hands when they were worshiping, and I thought that was always weird because I just didn't know about faith as much, especially when I was a freshman in high school. But Kim, one day, We're all eating in a lunchroom, and I have about 400 people in my lunch hour. We have 3 lunch hours. I went to a big school. So 400 people were eating. She gets up and stands on the stage, or chair, I should say, stands on the chair, and she screams out, "Attention, everyone! Attention, everyone!" They all stop because this is kind of weird. Teachers are thinking, oh, there's a problem. They start walking up to her. She goes, "I just want to let everyone know that I don't think you know me, but I consider everyone a friend. And I want you to hear about this big event that we're having at our church tomorrow night." And then she shares about the event. She goes, "I just want you to know of the love of Jesus that I know. Thank you." And then she gets back down. What do you think happened? Everyone just came to Christ? No. Everyone just started going back slowly, some snickers and laughter and all that. They just go back to eating. They didn't really do anything with Kim's message. I was shocked that Kim did this. So afterwards, even though I wasn't friends with her, we were still part of the same youth group, I go up to her and I say, "Kim, why'd you do that? Why did you tell someone about our event tomorrow night?" And she says some words that I never would forget. She says, "Kyle, let's say you are walking down the street and your best friend is coming across the street and you see a semi running down, going at top speed towards your friend. And if you don't do anything, your friend will be hit by a semi. What do you do?" And I said, "Well, and she cut me off. She says, "Do you just scream? You stand right where you are and say, 'Hey, watch out, watch out.' And maybe they don't hear you and get hit by the semi. Or do you run out and you try to grab them, all right, and you pull both of you to safety, but maybe you don't have enough time because they fight you or like what's going on and all that. Or," she said, "do you do everything you can to get them out of the street, including running out them, pushing them out of the way, even if that means you get hit by the semi?" She says, "Kyle, when I look out to my classmates, I don't see my classmates. I see people who need Jesus." And she actually started to cry. It wasn't a thing for her. It wasn't a checklist for her. It was a heart passion for her that she genuinely wanted other people to hear about Jesus. And she had a chance, and she goes, "Look, if someone else didn't tell me about Jesus, I wouldn't be here. And I want them to know." I was more concerned that she's going to be rejected or she's going to be, ostracized because now people are going to make fun of her. That's what my concern was. But she taught me a valuable lesson. That night, all right, or the next night, I should say, that Wednesday, it was a concert, and I don't even remember the band that was there, but it was a concert. Normally we had about 50 people show up. We had 200 people show up because I found out she had a little invite card and put it in every single locker room or locker afterwards. She went crazy. And guess what? 50 students came to Christ that Wednesday night. Not because of me, not because of the youth pastor, not because of the small group leader, but because I really believe one person named Kim was passionate enough to follow up and really wanted people to know. Now, that's a challenge. It's going to be hard for each and every one of you. Your goal here is to kind of maybe start the conversation. So we're going to end with something awkward. And look, you can do this, or you can completely ignore it. I'm not going to force you. Here's my challenge. Right now, I want you to post either this picture or this phrase on your social media. Right now, you can get out your phones, okay? If you don't have your phones, you can come later. I want you to post, "Don't be a peach, be a pomegranate," and I don't want you to explain it. You can put a hashtag if you want, but don't let the hashtag explain it. Don't put hashtag Jesus or anything like that. I want you, there you go, to do that. Yeah.
What if you don't have social media?
You can text it to a friend. Or you can pray for someone if you don't have a phone. Now, put it on social media and all that. And here's the thing. I want you to start the conversation. So when someone says, what's this? Then you can actually say, okay. And I want you to share in short sentences because you don't have a long time. Maybe you have to have a conversation. Did you just cut yourself?
Felt like it.
Careful. All right. Maybe have a long conversation over Messenger or something like that. But I want you to actually practice and say, here's what that means. I'm a Christian, and I want you to know about Jesus' love. You can use the Life in 6 Words app. You can share your faith story. Maybe you have to share your faith story down to 2 sentences. What would that be? If you could only have 2 sentences to tell people about Jesus, what would you do? But I want you to start the conversation. And this does, because some people are like, what does that mean? You don't like fruit now? I don't get it. Some people are like, what's a pomegranate? Who knows, all right? So throughout the day, during some free time and all that, you might be on your phone, all right, telling someone about Jesus. We live in a technology now that it doesn't have to be face-to-face anymore. So I'm going to pray, and then we are going to break up into small groups. Your small group leaders have questions and all that. So let me pray, okay? And then I do want to hear your experiences. If you want to tag me, you can tag me. That's my social media for pretty much almost everything. So go ahead. You don't have to, but let me pray, and then we'll get going. Dear wonderful Father, thank you, Lord, for this time. I pray that we can all walk in courage, and we can exchange our excuses for motivations. I pray for each person in this room and the people who are watching online that they can find the motivation to tell others about you. Lord, I pray that we are light in the darkness. I pray that we are the seeds and not terrible vegetables. I pray now that we can be fruit and a pomegranate rather than just a peach. Thank you, Lord, for giving us this opportunity. I pray that each person in this room receives an opportunity to tell others about you, Lord, your loving, awesome grace, peace that goes beyond understanding, and amazing salvation that comes with trusting in your Son, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, take your fruit and your phones and all that to